Everything is kind of taboo in the South, and instead of trying to understand, people tend to just go off hearsay, and they tend to construct things in their mind, an image of what they think a transgender person is. You figure out ways to kind of skirt around the discrimination, but eventually it finds you.
Every day, transgender and gender non-conforming people are marginalized because of their gender identity and expression. The struggle for fairness has too often been held up by the lack of hard data on the discrimination they face. The National Center for Transgender Equality and the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force formed a partnership to complete the first comprehensive transgender discrimination study.
This study was about really creating entirely new information about the community, creating a portrait that didn't yet exist about the scope of discrimination in transgender people's lives and the devastation that it causes.
You figure out ways to kind of work around people. You know, I think it's something that subconsciously happens over years. You don't even realize you're doing it, but you find ways to, okay, I might be at the local Walmart and, okay, I know this group is here in this aisle, so I'm gonna walk around this aisle. Or either I'm gonna go to the store, instead of 2 p.m. in the day, I'll go at 2 a.m. in the morning when no one's there. I'm also African American, so that's another layer of discrimination that I have to deal with.
One of the meta-findings of the study is that the combination of anti-transgender bias and racism is especially deadly. When we look at things like harassment in the workplace, 50% of the full sample is experiencing harassment, but transgender people of color are experiencing harassment at rates of 55 to 65%.
I consider myself a Native American transgender. In the cultural term, in our language, I would be called a nagale, which doesn't describe a sexual orientation or a gender identity, but actually it describes a role that I play in the community. I was a waitress, and I had been working there for approximately 8 months. I had been doing a good job up until that point. I was bringing in a lot of repeat customers. Somebody actually told the restaurant manager that I was transgender, and I went to go talk to him. While we were inside the office, he reached out and he touched my breast. At that point, I didn't think that there was anything that I could do, and I didn't.
I went to school and earned a degree, but because of discrimination, I'm limited in my employment options. And so it's been very troubling to know that, you know, this is an extra burden on me financially and in other ways.
There's incredible determination to stay in school, get your degree, but there's no job for you when you get out. Our sample was experiencing almost 4 times the rate of extreme poverty as the general population in the U.S.
I had to stick with the same job that I had right out of high school, even though I attended college and earned my degree and can do other things. You have to sit before a prospective employer and state to him or her, hey, you know, yeah, I'm a perfect candidate, but I'm also transgender.
All these transgender and gender nonconforming people are surviving enormous assaults on every front. And the safety nets that are available for your average person are simply not there.
I took the approach of laying low, and I thought, well, if I just fly below the radar, I'll just coast through life perhaps and not have to deal with a lot of this stuff. But the older I got, the harder that became. It was too much of a war on the inside, and I had to be free.
We see, again, the hits over and over again in terms of the way our society is structured, and there being really no repercussions for anti-transgender bias, and yet our people get back up again.
Now, I am very grateful that I can say, you know what, yes, I have been discriminated against in this area and this area and this area, but I am also very resilient as a transgender woman. that I can still move on in my life and do things that are going to change those things.
Fear comes from a place of ignorance. That same thing that causes you the most problems in your life will also be the same thing that propels you into greatness. It's hard to explain it to someone who isn't experiencing it, but it's a beautiful thing.